is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Children will grow up and bring the joy, the love, the peace, and compassion to the whole world. We only have one planet. We only have one Earth. And I hope that this new generation of children that we have reached out will become millions and billions and bring peace on Earth. Bring peace to humanity.
In the headlines, alleged military intelligence operatives in collaboration with the Philippine National Police are continuously monitoring KOJC missionaries and their activities outside the KOJC Center headquarters. Vice President Sara Duterte, who has experienced similar tactics, claims this is a common police strategy used to harass targets. Meanwhile, amid public calls for mandatory drug testing among government officials, Vice President Sara Duterte says she's willing to take on the challenge. In other news, a former government official has called on the Philippine National Police to serve with integrity and to protect citizens amid allegations of being political tools of the Marcos administration. Ceasefire talks aimed at resolving the Gaza conflict began in Doha on Thursday, with key representatives from Qatar, Egypt, the US, and Israel in attendance, but notably absent war Hamas representatives. And South Korean president proposes a new dialogue initiative with North Korea while outlining a vision for unification amid rising tensions between the two nations. I'm Frederico Velloso. Newsline World starts now. Alleged military intelligence operatives in collaboration with the Philippine National Police are continuously monitoring KOJC missionaries and their activities outside the KOJC Center headquarters. Vice President Sara Duterte, who has experienced similar tactics, claims this is a common police strategy used to harass their targets. Let's hear from Jason Rubrico.
Despite the recent Senate hearing regarding the Philippine National Police's excessive force against the Kingdom of Jesus Christ, the continuous surveillance and casing by alleged members of the Military Intelligence Group or Intelligence Service of the Armed Forces of the Philippines has not stopped. On the night of August 14, 2024, two men were spotted stationed outside the office of a mining company across from the KOJC Central Headquarters, apparently alongside police officers who were also positioned there. They were consistently taking videos and pictures of KOJC missionaries and vehicles coming in and out of the religious compound. They were also using binoculars. When approached, they consistently denied taking videos and photos. They also claimed not to be together, contrary to video footage of them.
Kanina pa po namin kayo nakikita ng picture doon.
Naman tanawan mo ma'am nga walay picture.
Hindi kasama po ninyo. Bakit po?
One of their companions hid in the garden and pretended to be talking on the cell phone while walking away.
Sir! Sir, kanina pa po kasi namin kayo nakikita na nagpipicture po dun sa ano namin.
Ma'am, wala ma'am, hilom ko ma'am kay kuan ma'am, mas importante ma'am.
Mas importante.
Oh yes ma'am.
Pero kanina pa po kasi namin.
Ma'am, kaya lang ma'am, kung anak na kuha na ni ma'am.
Sige, wag ka muna maglakad.
Ma'am, gusto mo ma'am.
Sandali. Kasi yung anak daw niya, sandali lang.
Oo.
Yan, nagkuwari na yung mga MIDB, mga ISAP.
Nagtataka lang po kasi kami. Kanina pa po kayo video ng video. Dun sa lugar po namin. Hindi po namin alam. Baka po kayo ay PNP, NPA.
KOJC missionaries tried to ask for help from the police stationed there, arguing that they were present for police visibility and to assist during incidents. But
Sir, magandang gabi. Sir, kayo, sila po ang opisyal? Any concern?
Po na nandito, na meron kayong mga question, query po ma'am. Kasi meron po akong COP. So siya po yung may karapatan na magsalita, hindi po kami.
Ma'am, sabi niyo po kasi police visibility, right?
Yes ma'am, nandito kami with mobile ma'am kasi dito may mga disgrasya, may mga concern na dito din sa area namin. Kami ang nag-a-assist ma'am.
the suspicious men had previously denied that the police were with them. But on the morning of August 15, 2024, they returned to the front of the KOJC Central Headquarters and were caught on video talking to the police they had earlier denied associating with. Vice President Sara Duterte, who has a similar experience, says that surveillance and casing are modes of harassment used by the police.
Kasi yung mga surveillance, yung mga casing, ano yan ganyan mangharas ang PNP. Modus yan ng PNP pag gusto nilang mangharas ng tao. So, depende na yan sa iyo kung papansinin mo, maiirita ka, or kung anong gagawin mo.
Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa has also criticized the police for their wrong methods in attempting to arrest Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy.
In their quest na maaresto si Pastor Apollo Kibuloy, halos lahat na ng tao ng Davao kinakalaban na nila, hinaharas na nila at kanila nang ina-antagonize. Mali po na approach yan. Maling-mali na approach yan.
De la Rosa also adds that the national police is wasting resources. He says that the injustice being done in Davao is unfair.
Hinahanap mo isang tao, apat na tao na may warrant of arrest. Granting na yun nga, duty niyo yan, nahanapin yan. But in doing so, you need not antagonize the whole community of Davao City na parang hinaharas na niyo palagi, nagsushow force na lang kayo palagi. That's a waste of resources. That's a waste of resources actually. You intimidate your own people, gano'n na pala, kasi hindi niyo makita yung hinahanap ninyo na may warrant of arrest, i-intimidate na niyo ang kalahatan ng mga tao. That's unfair. That's injustice. That's unjust sa mga tao ng Davao.
For God and my beloved Philippines, I am Jason Rubrico, SM9 News.
Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has requested comments from Congress and Malacanang regarding the petition for a temporary restraining order against the transfer of the PhilHealth funds to the National Treasury. Let's hear more from Margaret Gonzalez.
On August 2, the legality of a provision in the 2024 General Appropriations Act which allows the transfer of excess funds from government-owned and controlled corporations or GOCCs to the National Treasury to fund and program appropriations was challenged before the Supreme Court by Senate Minority Floor Leaders Coco Pimentel, Philippine Medical Association, and some health advocates. Additionally, the petitioners requested a temporary restraining order or TRO to halt the transfer of 89.9 billion pesos in excess funds from Philippine Health Insurance Corporation to the National Treasury. The petitioners also asked for the 20 billion pesos already transferred to be returned to PhilHealth following a directive from the Department of Finance. Respondents to the petition include the House of Representatives, the Senate, the Department of Finance, PhilHealth, and Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin. The court has given the respondents only 10 days to submit their comments.
The court required respondents to file their comment to the petition and prayer for TRO within a non-extendable period of 10 days from notice. The court further required the Office of the Clerk of Court en banc to personally serve the court's resolution on the respondents, which shall likewise personally file and serve its comment.
It was previously stated by the Department of Finance that the fund transfer is legal and justified. The department will respond to the petition to the Solicitor General. For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Margaret Gonzalez, SMNI News.
As a mandate, the Philippine National Police is directed to serve with integrity and to provide protection to citizens. But what if their actions contradict this? Here's the reminder and appeal from a former government official in Carlo de la Peña's report.
Again, this chairman, the chairman of this committee is advising the PNP to always follow the rule of law. Observe the police operational procedure in relation to the rules of court.
It has been 2 weeks since Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa warned several police officials during a Senate inquiry regarding the armed attacks on KOJC religious compounds, yet harassment and intimidation against KOJC members seem to persist. This includes unusual surveillance activities such as photographing or video recording by unidentified individuals, and even instances of individuals in full battle gear jogging while occupying a lane of the highway in front of the KOJC compound in Davao City. In an interview with Banateros, Dr. Lorraine Maribadoy, as the spouse of a military officer, asserted that this is not the mandate of those described as defenders of the people.
Ang training talaga nila ay magkaroon ng yung dangal na talagang poprotektahan ang Pilipino, ang mamamayan.
But Badoy said that because of the current administration, this is what is happening.
Pero dahil dito sa president na ito, ayan na naman, nawawala na naman ang tiwala natin sa mga pulis. Sinisira niya itong mga men of principle, no? As a result of that, instead na pagkatiwalaan natin sila, natatakot tayo sa kanila at nagngingit-ngit tayo, di ba?
Therefore, the former official has warned that the administration appears to be turning the police into a private army and is neglecting their honor as defenders and protectors of the nation.
Ang kapangyarihan na yan ay galing sa taong bayan at taong bayan din ang pwedeng kumuha niyan. So, magtulungan tayo dito.
For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
The Philippines has reported no new cases of Mpox despite the World Health Organization declaring it a public health emergency of international concern. However, the DOH warns that the public should remain vigilant and alert. Crescent Catarong files this report.
The situation constitutes a public health emergency of international concern. I have accepted that advice.
The World Health Organization recently declared Mpox a public health emergency of international concern for a second time. The first declaration was made in 2022 as the COVID-19 pandemic was winding down. On August 13 this year, the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention declared a public health emergency due to a rise in Mpox cases in the continent since 2023.
Bakit ho tayo nagdeklara or bakit ang WHO ay nagdeklara ng sinasabing public health emergency of international concern? Kasi po, gusto ng buong mundo, ng mga bansa sa buong mundo na wag na sanang palabasin po na kumakalat. At ang paraan para dito ay magkaisa, no, ang ating mga bansa sa pagtulong sa African continent.
According to DOH spokesperson Assistant Secretary Albert Domingo, there have been 9 reported cases of mpox in the Philippines. The most recent case was detected in December 2023 with no new cases since then. Domingo also reported that the said all 9 patients have fully recovered.
So, ganun na ho katagal yung ating parang last case. But that doesn't mean na nagpapahinga tayo dahil alinsunod nga sa pagdeklara ng WHO, naka-alerto po tayo. Ito na yung mpox, no? Dati, ang tawag po natin dyan, monkeypox. Nakita ho siya sa mga unggoy noong 1958. Pero hindi lamang siya sa unggoy nangyayari. Meron din sa mga ibang animals na pinanggagalingan. Ang importante ho dito, alisin natin yung stigma, kaya tawagin natin siyang mpox.
In response, the DOH is taking steps to prevent new mpox cases from entering the Philippines. Domingo mentioned that the Bureau of Quarantine has not added new processes to their surveillance, but is on alert status.
Nagtatanong po sila siguro ng may additional question or baka mas maganda ho yung interview pagdating sa ating mga biyahero mula sa Africa at pati na yung mga papuntang Africa, kailangan inakabisuhan natin.
Monkeypox spreads through close physical or skin-to-skin contact. Symptoms begin with a fever, followed by an incubation period of 1 to 21 days.
Tapos pag nagkaroon ka ng rashes, usually 2 days before that, pwede kang makahawa. Ang rashes ay tumatagal mula 2 to 4 weeks. May gamot ba dito? Wala siyang gamot mismo dun sa monkeypox, pero ang magandang balita, kusa loob po siyang gumagaling.
To prevent infection, the health official emphasized the importance of maintaining good hygiene and frequent washing of hands. While not required, wearing a face mask while traveling is advisable. For God and for my beloved Philippines, this has been Kerseling Catarong, SMNI News.
Former NTF-ELCAC official reprimanded the armed police jogging in front of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ Center headquarters. Meanwhile, Banateros expressed both amusement and sympathy for the police situation in Davao City. Let's hear more details from Jason Rubrico.
Naka-counterflow pa kayo. Huwag kayong pumanig sa Pangulong immoral at bangag!
Armed police jogging in front of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ Central Headquarters received a reprimand from former NTF-ELCAC spokesperson Dr. Lorraine Badoy on Friday morning. This was the 4th time that 2 platoons of police officers had jogged in front of the KOJC religious compound. Dr. Badoy experienced mixed emotions upon seeing this.
I was enraged. Galit na galit ako. At saka, malungkot din. Nalulungkot ako kasi kilala ko naman ang pulis, di ba? Katrabaho ko sa ELCAC yan eh. At saka alam ko yung kabayanihan nila. So, nakita ko reduce na sila sa ganyan. Tormentor ng mga taong bayan.
Dr. Badoy added that she could see that the police were embarrassed by their actions as they entered the profession not to become antagonists but to protect the people. Badoy stated that Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is degrading all government institutions, including the National Police.
Anong ginawa ni Bongbong Marcos? Diba? Talagang sinisira niya ang mga institusyon natin, sinisira niya ang PNP, ang AFP, katulad ng ginawa ng tatay niya. Parehong-pareho sila ng tatay niyang diktador, pasista, magnanakaw. At walang totoong pagmamahal sa bayan. Yan yung nakita ko. Siya ang presidenteng walang moralidad itong Pangulong ito kasi siya ay lulong sa droga. Yan ang paniniwala ko hanggat hindi siya magpa-drug test.
Alongside Badoy, Banateros also witnessed the armed police jogging in front of the KOJC religious compound. They felt both sympathy and amusement regarding the situation of the police in Davao City.
Nawawala yung credibility ng mga kapulisan natin dahil sa ginagawa ng ibang mga leader. Hindi ko nilalahat, no, kasi marami pa rin mga matatinong pulis. Yung nangyayari lang dito sa Davao, medyo nakakatawa and at the same time nakakaawa doon sa mga junior officers kasi wala silang magawa eh. Wala silang magawa kung anong sabihin sa kanila yung gagawin nila.
Pag pinapanood mo siya sa TV, parang wala lang eh. Iba pala talaga kapag ka nandito ka, tapos personal mong natutunguhan. Iba yung pakiramdam, parang kinikilabutan ka na pinagpapawisan ka na naiihi ka na hindi mo alam. Kasi nakakatakot pala talagang makakita ng mga pulis na naka full battle gear. Tapos ganyan tumatakbo in groups. Sa nakikita natin ngayon, tineterrorize talaga nila itong kahabaan ng kalsada na ito, ng airport road na ito. Nakakatawa. Kasi una alam natin pagka mga kapulisan, sila yung tigapagpatupad ng batas. Pero kanina sinira nila yung batas. Kasi una bawal yun counterflow. Tsaka nagtataka ko, kaya nga tinanong ko dun kanina sa kanila, Sir, masikip ba sa kampo nyo? Kasi bakit sa national road kayo nagja-jogging? Pwede naman nila gawin sa kampo nila yun. Wala.
Meanwhile, Badoy expressed her admiration for the KOJC missionaries who, despite the harassment from the police, continue to remain joyful and positive.
Bilib na bilib ako sa restraint ng KOJC. No, na ito pala yung dinadaanan ninyo for the past how many months na, yung intimidation, yung harassment, yung pananakot. Pero when you're here, the people are still filled with joy at saka willing to stand their ground kasi naririnig ko ang pagkakaintindi ninyo. Pag ito ay nasaling nila ang KOJC, buong Pilipinas kaya nilang gawin ito. So the Filipino people owes the KOJC a debt of gratitude na kayo ang first line of defense ng Republika.
For God and my beloved Philippines, I am Jason Rubrico, SM9 News.
The number of areas in Batangas with African swine fever cases has increased. Hog raisers are concerned about the small number of vaccines through emergency procurement for the controlled vaccination next week. Shinawatra with the report.
Authorities intercepted these trucks, which were en route to Pangasinan, at a checkpoint by the Bureau of Animal Industry on Mindanao Avenue, Tandang Sora. However, upon inspection by personnel, it was discovered that the trucks were carrying pigs. The first truck was carrying 60 pigs, and the second had 87, both using fake shipping permits from different owners. As a result, the agency immediately confiscated these pigs and brought them to the Bae compound in Quezon City for testing. The Department of Agriculture discovered that
yung dalawang trucks na nahuli na walang kakulang papel, parehas galing sa Sariaya papuntang Pangasinan. Turned out to be positive sa ASF upon conduct ng laboratory test. Yung sizes ng mga baboy, maliliit, mga 30 kilograms lang. So, tapos yun nga, may mga apparent na signs ng ASF. Condemnation na.
the DA said the owners would be sanctioned using fake documents and violating the Food Safety Act. Since the pigs tested positive for African swine fever, they must be culled and buried. In addition, 14 more pigs were intercepted at the same checkpoint, suspected to be ASF positive as well. The DA is closely monitoring to prevent the entry of ASF into Central Luzon, which is the primary source of pork supply for Metro Manila.
Concerning siya in the sense na napatunayan ito na positive. Pag dumating ito doon sa mga destination nila at kunwari mamimili rin doon pa ng additional, ang daling kumalat ng virus. So it only shows as well na yung mga biyahero ang main source ng pagkalat, transmission ng virus.
Therefore, the department is intensifying its monitoring efforts, such as at Commonwealth, designated as a by-inspection site. Several trucks were halted by department personnel to ensure that no smuggled products could slip through.
Kuya, nakabala ka?
Medyo po. May nahabol kaming oras sa Bounty, ma'am eh.
But there's no need to worry about the African swine fever spread. Agriculture Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr. confirmed that the vaccine is expected to arrive on Saturday, August 17. This is the 10,000 doses of vaccine procured through emergency means.
Regular procurement process na sinasabi ni September talaga yon, but we were able to do emergency procurement just na-finalize lang namin today. So hopefully ma-release yan sa airport by Monday para maka-start na tayo magturok by Tuesday.
According to the latest data from the provincial government of Batangas, African swine fever has affected 10 municipalities and cities. These include Lobo, Lipa, Lian, Rosario, Calatagan, Talisay, San Juan, Tuwi, and new cases in Balayan and Balvar. However, Batangas local government unit is still waiting for the confirmatory test to determine if ASF has also spread to Mabini. Batangas Governor Hermelando Mandana stated that many hog raisers have suffered losses due to African swine fever.
Meron na kami nagpakamatay na hog raiser dahil talagang malaki ang lugi and all that.
According to Batangas LGU data, the damage to the industry in affected areas has reached over 41 million pesos due to ASF. The Pork Producers Federation of the Philippines expressed disappointment, saying the 10,000 vaccine doses intended for control vaccination are insufficient.
Napakaliit nung unang emergency procurement nila, 10,000 doses. Ang dating daw linggo, doon pa lang sa Lubok, kulang yan. Namatay to, 10,000 Ibig sabihin, may mga natitira pa yon, baka hindi lang 50,000 ang nandoong natira. So, kulang yan sa isang bayan.
The group also questioned why breeders' pigs were not included in the vaccination. However, Department of Agriculture Chief explained.
Sa ngayon, ang AVAC vaccine, unfortunately, it is not recommended for breeders, only for growers. Yan ang limitation niya. That's why we are also trying to fast track yung pag-start ng trials of mga vaccines na pwede for breeders. Kaya lang there's a process na we have to abide with.
The vaccines will arrive gradually, but all pigs in the red and pink zones where ASF cases are present will be vaccinated.
There is a chance if we do not vaccinate as soon as possible and save the number of pigs, then there will be a shortage of local pigs. But of course, there is always the option of importation.
The agency aims to add more checkpoints in various areas in Metro Manila. The same goes for provinces to prevent the spread of African swine fever.
We will add checkpoints because marami pa rin tayong mga kababayan na medyo irresponsable at alam nila na may sakit, tinatakbo pa. Tapos dadalhin pa sa iba at baka mahawa pa yung ating mga ibang farms na wala namang problema.
According to the latest Bureau of Animal Industry data as of August 14, over 400 barangays nationwide have been affected by African swine fever or ASF. The spread is faster now compared to the 251 barangays recorded in early August this year. For God and for my beloved Philippines, this has been Shinawatra, SMNI News.
Students in Dhaka are making their voices heard, calling for their fundamental rights and prosecution of the Awami League. Their protest underscores a critical demand for accountability and the protection of democratic principles in Bangladesh. Let's hear the report from Wela Abunda.
Hundreds of students took to the streets of Dhaka on Wednesday, calling for former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and her Awami League to be put on trial. Footage captured the demonstrators marching with Bangladesh flags, chanting slogans and listening to speeches. This comes after a court in Bangladesh opened a murder investigation against Sheikh Hasina and 6 senior members of her administration, following the deaths of several protesters during civil unrest. Hasina resigned after weeks of anti-government protests initially sparked by student opposition to the quota system for government jobs, which reserved a third of public sector positions for relatives of those who fought in the 1971 independence war. The protest escalated into violent clashes, leaving over 40 people dead as demonstrators stormed government buildings, including Hasina's official residence. With Hasina's 15-year tenure marked by increasing unrest, President Mohamed Shahabuddin initiated discussions with political parties, the military, and protesters before appointing Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus as interim leader. In an exclusive interview with SMNI, student protesters from Bangladesh recounted their experiences and commitment to defending democracy as the youth of their nation. For Tamjidul Hoke, what began as protests over water control for farming jobs escalated to demands for Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's resignation.
I think it's a very good example of how trying to control everything through power and force is never really a good idea. If you follow the situation in Bangladesh, you would know that the protests were initially about quota reform in government jobs, not about government's resignation. It was only after the violent crackdowns that the protesters demanded Prime Minister to exit.
He added that this situation underscores the necessity for leaders to handle citizens' demands.
I think this shows that every leader of the country should show more respect and kindness towards their people and towards their demands instead of violently cracking down and causing lives to be lost.
Meanwhile, for Asif Azad, a content creator in Bangladesh, shared that this was the first time that they've truly experienced freedom and democracy.
For the first time, we're genuinely feeling and experiencing the freedom, the independence, and the democracy. The brave students who took charge, who initiated and led the protest, the movement, later on the entire nation joined, and collectively our unity, our people, we got our Bangladesh back, and nothing feels better than this, honestly, because we have been...
Asif Azad, reflecting on the significance of this moment, shared his overwhelming pride as a Bangladeshi, acknowledging the long-awaited realization of the freedom their forefathers fought for over 5 decades ago.
This is the best I've ever felt as a Bangladeshi. It is surreal. This is something that we always wanted, but as a nation, we never got to experience the freedom that our freedom fighters fought for 53 years back.
Asif Azad also sent a clear message to those in power, emphasizing the strength of a united people and cautioning against the dangers of dictatorship.
Well, dictatorship is something that should not be there, right? I don't know much about politics, but to all the dictators out there, you better take notes, because when people unite, just see what happened to Bangladesh. Because this line I've always heard, but now I genuinely felt what it means. Government for the people, of the people, by the people. So never, never, never underestimate the people.
The fall of Sheikh Hasina is arguably the most significant political event in the history of post-independent Bangladesh. Her 1.5-decade grip on power has finally been shaken loose by a mass uprising led by students. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this has been Wella Abunda, SMNI News.
Up next, South Korean president proposes a new dialogue initiative with North Korea while outlining a vision for unification amid rising tensions between the two nations. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi advocates for National Common Civil Code despite strong opposition from Muslim activists. More news when Newsline World returns.
Abangan ng Banateros tuwing Lunes hanggang Huwebes, live dito lang sa SMNI.
Yan ang Banateros, walang inuurungan. Pag tama palakpakan, pag mali ay babanatan. Yan ang Banateros.
Sabi nga nila, di ba? You will know them by their love. Yun ang sinabi sa Biblia. It's not on how good you are in quoting the scripture. It's giving love.
Grabe, hindi talaga kasya yung words eh. Kung paano natin i-express yung ating na-experience.
Mismo wala akong masabi. Kita ko kasi yung pagiging generous. Alam mo, madali kasi magsalita ng Diyos eh. Pero pagdating sa pera, pagdating sa pagiging generous, yung pagtulong sa iba, hindi biro yun. Maraming bagsak dyan. Maraming bagsak. Kaya ako nakikita ko yung pagiging generous niya. Hindi sa salita eh. Sa lakad. Bilib ako. Hindi dakdak. Nakita mo sa gawa. one word, authentic.
Kibuloy is a threat to peace and order in the country.
Father, you have ordained leaders for the development, prosperity of our country, no matter what. The scriptures are very clear. And the scriptures tells us to put them up in supplications and prayers, that they may do the right thing, that they may guide our nation towards peace and development and prosperity.
Before I become extinct, I'd like to say to you, talagang you are the son of God.
Back in the news, Vice President Sara Duterte will take on the challenge of undergoing a hair follicle drug test. Jade Calabroso files this report.
In an ambush interview in Davao City, Vice President Sara Duterte said she is prepared to undergo a hair follicle drug test. This follows the challenge posed by former presidential spokesperson Attorney Harry Roque to Davao City Mayor Sebastian Duterte and Congressman Paulo Duterte, urging them to set an example for those in government.
Pero dahil nanggaling ang panukalang batas sa kay Congressman Pulong Duterte, hinihimok rin ang pamilyang Duterte, mauna na kayo. Miski wala pa pong batas, pwede naman kayong voluntaryo nang mapakita nyo sa taong bayan na dahil kayong humihingi ng mandatory drug test, wala rin kayong tinatago. So, ang aking panawagan, BP Sara, mahal kita, pero kinakailangan magsilbi kang ehemplo. Manguna ka na mag-hair follicle test at isama mo na yung dalawa mong kapatid.
According to VP Sara, she will adjust her testing schedule. She also stated that a third party should be involved in the testing, and it shouldn't rely on just one laboratory to ensure the results are properly validated. In a recent statement, Roque expressed his gratitude for the Vice President's swift agreement to undergo a hair follicle drug test in response to his challenge. He stated that this action demonstrates VP Sara's commitment to leadership by example and proves that she is truly listening to the people. Roque's next question is who else will join VP Sara for the drug test? In Congressman Pulong's proposed measure, all elected and appointed government officials, including the President, are required to undergo mandatory drug testing every 6 months. Vice President Inday Sara supports this proposal, stating that it is only right to ensure that all government officials, including herself, are in the proper state of mind. It can be remembered that former President Rodrigo Duterte also challenged President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to undergo a hair follicle test to disprove reports that he is a drug user. For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Jade Calabroso, SMNA News.
Who can afford breakfast, lunch, and dinner just for 21 pesos? That's the question from an economist after the National Economic and Development Authority stated that with just 64 pesos daily budget for food, one is not considered impoverished. The economist further asked if it's even possible to buy meals for only 21 pesos. Here's the report from Sada Santos.
Wala ka namang bibili sa 21 pesos eh. Kahit sa tindahan, chichirya lang siguro. Pero sa pagkain, itlog lang, tama. Kulang pa yun. Wala pang kanin yun, te.
Malaking kalokohan yun, ma'am. Kahit bata, bigyan mo 21 eh, baka pagalitan ka pa eh. Sabihin eh, isang kainan lang yun, mamamasahe pa.
Kung sa 21 na pag lumagpas ka, talagang hirap pagka gano'n lang ang budget mo.
Many Filipinos consider the National Economic and Development Authority or NEDA's recent statement a big joke. Just recently, NEDA claimed that a daily food budget of 64 pesos for breakfast, lunch, and dinner is sufficient and not indicative of hardship. This implies that if you have a budget of 21 pesos per meal, you are considered to be in a relatively better financial situation. Given the high prices of goods in the market, an economist asks if there are any food available for just 21 pesos. Dr. Michael Batu is inquiring about who might be able to have these 3 meals with a daily budget of 64 pesos.
Hindi nila pwedeng lokohin ng taong bayan. Alam ng taong bayan kung naghihirap sila o hindi.
NEDA has admitted that the basis they use to determine the food poverty threshold is now outdated. Batu's perspective on NEDA's recent statement is as follows.
Kung nangyayari sa atin ngayon, parang niloloko ng mga economic managers yung kanilang sarili kasi nga yung measures na ginagamit nila ay hindi ito accurate, that it doesn't reflect really what is going on sa reality.
Batu believes that the reason the food poverty threshold is not being updated or raised is to cover up the true number of people living in poverty in the country. He stated that if the international standards for measuring the food poverty threshold were followed, the number of people living in poverty would certainly increase. This serves as a strong rebuttal to the government's claim that poverty is merely a speculation and that the number of impoverished citizens is decreasing. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this has been Sara Santos, SMNI News.
Days after the removal of Sreta Thabsin, Paetongtarn Shinawatra has made history as Thailand's youngest and second female prime minister at the age of 37. Chatmongon Pisangmangozon reports.
Paetongtarn Shinawatra has been elected as Thailand's 31st prime minister, making history as the youngest person to assume the role at 37. The parliamentary vote held on Friday followed the dismissal of former Prime Minister Sreta Shinawatra by the Constitutional Court for an ethics violation. Shinawatra, leader of the Pheu Thai Party, was the sole nominee for the position. She becomes the second woman to serve as Prime Minister, succeeding her aunt Yingluck Shinawatra, who was the first female Prime Minister before being ousted in a 2014 coup. Paetongtarn is also the third member of the influential Shinawatra family to lead Thailand, following her father, Thaksin Shinawatra. The vote count was 319 in favor, 145 against, and 27 abstentions, with the Pheu Thai Party's 11-party coalition providing strong support. Her appointment now awaits royal endorsement and her official swearing in. Shinawatra's rise comes amid ongoing political instability and economic challenges, continuing the prominent role of the Shinawatra family in Thailand's political landscape. Reporting from Thailand, I'm Shatmongkol Visamagoson, your Global Citizens correspondent for SM9 News Channel.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi advocates for a national common civil code despite strong opposition from Muslim activists. Melksa Dekadis reports.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced on Thursday his intention to advance a national common civil code, a move that has faced fierce criticism from Muslim activists who view it as an attack on their faith. Currently, while India's 1.4 billion people are governed by a common criminal law, personal laws regarding marriage, divorce, and inheritance vary among religious communities. The proposed civil code aims to standardize these laws across all religions, but it has been met with resistance from Muslim activists and liberals who argued that it targets the country's largest religious minority. Modi, addressing the nation during his annual Independence Day speech, argued that the current diverse laws create division.
अब समय की मांग है कि देश में
एक सेकुलर सिविल कोड हो। हमने कम्युनल सिविल कोड में 75 साल बिताए हैं, अब हमें सेक्युलर सिविल कोड की तरफ जाना होगा और तब जाकर के देश में धर्म के आधार पर जो भेदभाव हो रहे हैं, सामान्य नागरिक को जो दूरी महसूस होती है, उससे हमें मुक्ति मिलेगी।
Modi, who secured a third consecutive term in office in June, now leads a coalition government after his Bharatiya Janata Party faced a surprising electoral setback, losing its outright majority for the first time in a decade. The BJP's Hindu nationalist rhetoric has heightened concerns among India's Muslim population, which numbers over 220 million. Modi delivered his speech at New Delhi's historic Red Fort, continuing a tradition started by India's first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, to commemorate the country's independence from Britain. Reporting from Kuwait, I am Melchizedek Cadiz, your global citizen correspondent for God and for our beloved country, the Philippines.
Japan is on high alert as Typhoon Ampil is classified as very strong, nears bringing widespread disrupting and major evacuation. Hector Kikusaki reports.
Japan is gearing up for Typhoon Ampil, now classified as very strong by the Japan Meteorological Agency. With wind speeds soaring to 216 kilometers per hour or 134 miles per hour, Typhoon Ampil is set to slam into the Kanto region, including Tokyo, on Friday evening. In response, authorities have issued urgent evacuation orders. Iwaki City in Fukushima Prefecture is ordering about 323,000 residents to evacuate, while Mobara City in Chiba Prefecture is directing around 18,500 residents to leave their homes. Many other cities are opening evacuation centers and urging voluntary evacuations. The storm has already triggered significant power outages, affecting over 2,500 households in the Kanto area. The impact on travel is severe. ANA Holdings has grounded 281 domestic and 54 international flights, stranding nearly 70,000 passengers. Additionally, 32 flights into or out of Tokyo's Haneda Airport have been cancelled for Saturday. Japan Airlines has also cancelled 281 domestic and 38 international flights, affecting about 50,000 passengers. All Shinkansen bullet trains between Tokyo and Nagoya are halted, and Tokyo Disneyland has moved its closing time to 3 p.m. local time. Residents are strongly advised to follow evacuation orders and take all necessary precautions as Typhoon Ampil approaches. Reporting from Tokyo, Japan, I'm Hector Kikusaki, your global citizen correspondent for God and to my beloved country, the Philippines.
Following the World Health Organization's urgent Mpox warning, Thailand is tightening airport screenings to combat the outbreak. Anisa de Guzman has more details.
Dr. Tongchai Kittiat-Tayakon, Director General of the Department of Disease Control, DDC, highlighted a worrying rise in monkeypox cases, especially the Mpox Clade 1b strain in African countries such as Burundi, Kenya, Rwanda, Uganda, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Since 2022, these regions have seen 14,250 cases and 456 deaths. In response, Thailand is closely monitoring the situation and preparing for any potential cases of the Mpox Clade 2 strain. The DDC has introduced stricter screening measures at major airports including Suvarnabhumi, Don Muang, and Utapao. These new protocols include health declaration forms, multilingual symptom warnings, QR codes for easy symptom reporting, temperature checks, and rapid testing with results available within 70 minutes. If a case is confirmed, the individual will be sent to the Bamras Naradura Institute for treatment. Travelers with visible rashes are assessed immediately on site. Mpox typically begins with a rash that can resemble chickenpox, syphilis, or herpes progressing to blisters filled with whitish fluid. Symptoms often include fever, headache, muscle aches, back pain, low energy, and swollen lymph nodes. Health authorities advised avoiding contact with items used by someone with Mpox, cleaning and disinfecting your home, and washing your hands regularly. Reporting from Thailand, I'm Anisa de Guzman, your global citizen correspondent for God and our beloved country, the Philippines.
Following last Friday's tragic crash that claimed 62 lives, Another VOE Pass flight was forced to make an emergency landing due to technical problems. David Lear has the details.
On Thursday evening, local time, a VOE Pass aircraft encountered technical issues, prompting the pilot to initiate an emergency landing in Uberlândia, Minas Gerais. The flight heading to Guarulhos in São Paulo was carrying 38 passengers. Flight radar, 24 images, showed the aircraft circling near Campina Verde before diverting to Uberlândia. The incident comes just days after a VOE Pass plane crashed in Vinhedo, São Paulo, resulting in 62 fatalities. According to local reports, the technical issue on the recent flight was a transient electrical variant that quickly returned to normal. As a precaution, the pilot chose to land in Uberlândia. As of reporting, VOE Pass has not released any official statement yet. This has been David Lira, your Global Citizen correspondent for SMNI News.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the Psalm. Guard your mind, soul, and heart, that they will remain upright in the sight of God. And that's all for this edition. For more news update, you may visit smnichannel.com or follow us in our official social media accounts on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. God in the country, I'm Frederico Velloso, and this is Newsline World.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Subscribe to SMNI News Channel and turn on the notification bell to keep you up to date. Also visit our official social media accounts and join our community on Viber and Telegram.